All right, so Nikkita, checking in with you. The SPD now yesterday cleared out the CHOP and created this Cal Anderson Park zone, which is actually a very big footprint up here. But the protesters are still in the street. They're actually, we can see them behind you here on Pine and Broadway. Just want to have you share some of your thoughts about the closing or the sweeping out of CHOP, and where are protests here in Seattle? What are protesters thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors to consider. You know, the sweep element of CHOP, the forceful removal of folks without homes, is something the city has continued to do. It is a human rights issue. It is a human rights violation. And as far as I know, no one was offered shelter or anywhere to go. So I think it's really important to consider that there were people already living on Capitol Hill prior to CHOP who have now been pushed out to who knows where without access to resources. I think it's important to bear in mind that CHOP was never the mission. CHOP was evolved out of a series of dynamics, some of which were created by the city and the tactics used by police by forcing people to be at a barricade for 9 days. They used flashbangs, tear gas, pepper spray. They created an environment where people wanted to latch onto this space. I think people are still in the streets because the goal still has not been achieved. I mean, people have been chanting defund the police, invest in public health and public safety strategies, free all protesters. And what's actually happening is the city has dug its heels in on policing. The city does not seem to have really any plan for investing in community-based public health and public safety strategies, or really any real investments in Black community. And the city has actually put more people into the criminal punishment system through the sweep at CHOP. They arrested, I think yesterday, 50+ people, many of whom have been charged with crimes, some with crimes like pedestrian interference or obstruction, and others with more extreme charges like investigation of assault. There are actually people still being held in King County Jail, and many of them were seen today. They have bail, but it has not been posted for everyone. So I think reality is we know that our mission is not done. And while CHOP was an evolution of things, has provided an opportunity for us to really think about what does it mean to provide public health and public safety for ourselves. This is a time for us to be critical of our experience in CHOP, to think about what infrastructure do we need to take care of each other. You know, I can't tell you the mindset of all protesters. I can tell you my mindset and the mindset of Decriminalize Seattle and other coalitions like King County Equity Now that I build with is we haven't achieved our mission yet. And we have to keep having a diversity of tactics, from protest to organizing to legislative advocacy, in order to ensure that at the end of this, the Black community is in a position to thrive.
Right. And I'm sorry I said one question, but I do have one more for you. Is that Mayor Durkin, at a press conference that she gave after the sweeping of the CHOP, and also previously to that, into the meeting that I sat in on, and we've heard her in several interviews, she said that she's made considerable steps towards things that the Black community has long time said that they wanted or demanded. She said that she's committing $100 million a year for the next 10 years. She said that she's giving $5 million for tutoring and mentorship. She said that they're transferring Fire Station 6. We're going to Branch Villa, a lot of different things. So when you hear that from the mayor's office and what the mayor's saying, also Chief Best has presented at least an outline of her plan of how re-envisioning police. I mean, are you taking these as genuine steps that are coming out of City Hall, or are you less than impressed?
First of all, they've said a lot and have not once put out a plan that has a timeline or a series of dates that tells us when any of these things will happen. So it's hard to say whether or not it's true or false, or it's genuine or disingenuous. What we do know is since Mayor Durkin's election in 2017, there are a lot of things she said she would do that she has not done. For instance, she said she would stop the sweeps. I have a signed contract where she committed to certain things at the Seattle People's Party debate, and I could go line by line on that contract of things that she has failed to deliver on. So it is hard to say whether or not that is a genuine promise. That said, there are a list of solutions on the King County Equity Now website of things that Black-led organizations that are in coalition building together have said that we want and we desire. And those are the things that she really should be making effective response to. And yet again, we have not received a plan or a timeline on how the city is going to move into that. I think what's important to acknowledge, though, is the Seattle City Council is making significant strides towards the defund demand, and many council members seem to be committing themselves to figuring out ways that the 2020 and 2021 budget can reflect the demand of defunding SPD by 50%. So I do think there's movement in the city. I don't think on the part of Chief Best or Mayor Durkin that it is really genuine. There have been a lot of things said, like we won't tear gas or use rubber bullets or pepper spray people. There's actually been a moratorium put on those items, and yet what have we seen? Those things are actually happening again. So when I think about whether or not I trust a person's words, I look at their actions, and what their actions are saying is that their words are not bond.